Welcome to another episode of the Quotes Light and Motivation Podcast with William H. If you haven't already, you can subscribe to the podcast and also rate and review the podcast. You can also email the podcast at quoteslightmotivation@gmail.com. Again, that's quoteslightmotivation@gmail.com. This episode, we're going to go over a quote from General Colin Powell. The quote goes like this: "If you're going to achieve excellence in big things, you develop the habit in little matters. Excellence is not an exception, it's a prevailing attitude." End quote. And again, that's a quote by Colin Powell. Colin Powell was an American politician, statesman, diplomat, and United States Army officer who served as the 65th United States Secretary of State from 2001 to 2005. He was born April 5th, 1937. And he passed away just this year, October 18th, 2021. He was the first African American Secretary of State, and he served as the 16th United States National Security Advisor from 1987 to 1989, and also as the 12th Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff from 1989 to 1993. He was born in New York City in 1937 to parents who had immigrated from Jamaica. He was raised in the South Bronx and educated in the New York City public schools, receiving a bachelor's degree in geology from the City College of New York, CCNY. He also participated in ROTC at the City College of New York and received a commission as an Army second lieutenant upon graduation in June 1958. He was a professional soldier for 35 years, during which time he held many command and staff positions and rose to the rank of 4-star general. He was commander of the U.S. Army Forces Command in 1989. So let's go back to the quote one more time. The quote is, "If you're going to achieve excellence in big things, you develop the habit in little matters. Excellence is not an exception, it's a prevailing attitude." So many people, when I think about this quote, I think about, how many people talk about all the things they want to do, all the big things they want to do. For example, they say they want to be a millionaire or billionaire. They say they want to own their own business. They say they want to be an entrepreneur. This quote makes me think about, well, what are you doing where you're at right now? What are you doing with what you currently have right now? So many people say they want to, they talk about all these big things. They have big plans for what they wanted to do. Just think about when you were a kid and all the big plans you had. It seems like when we're younger, we dream bigger. When we're younger, life hasn't beat us up as much. We haven't encountered opposition, and we have these big dreams, and we believe anything is possible. I think our imaginations are also much better when we're younger. We have these wild imaginations and these big dreams, and life hasn't beaten up on us as bad. We haven't had we haven't encountered many things that will pull, like life will beat up on you so bad that it'll pull all of those dreams and all that imagination and all those hopes away from you. And I think that we lose a lot of that as we get older. Of course, as like I said, life beats up on you. So this quote is, when we talk about if you're going to achieve excellence, the first part of the quote, if you're going to achieve excellence in big things, you develop the habit in little matters. That makes me think of, what are you doing today? What are you doing right now with where you're at? So if you say you want to be a millionaire, what are you doing with your current salary, right? What are you doing right now on the path to becoming a millionaire? How are you budgeting your money? Are you budgeting your money so that, you're saving some of it, putting some away for retirement, investing in assets, getting out of debt, budgeting, all of these things? Are you doing all these things to be a good steward of your money? If you say you want to be a millionaire, are you doing the things that a millionaire would do with your current salary? Saving some in case of emergency, investing some or acquiring assets in order to grow your net worth, and budgeting and using your money in the most efficient manner. Right now, the hot thing is entrepreneurship, right? I feel like we're talking about entrepreneurship a lot right now, much more than we have ever. I think it's a good thing. We're talking about, there's a lot of discussion in popular culture or in the media about entrepreneurship, and everyone wants to be a boss and everyone wants to be an entrepreneur. And all that sounds good, but it's the question is, what are you doing right now with your current job? What are you doing right now to get to the state of being an entrepreneur, or if you're not one already, if that's your goal? Are you a top performer at your current job? Or are you working to be a top performer at your current job so that you can maximize your salary and invest in your entrepreneurship journey? Do you do things that you don't feel like doing at your current job? Because that's what entrepreneurship is, I think, in a lot of ways. A lot of entrepreneurship is doing things that you don't want to do or uncomfortable things. Are you a problem solver? Are you able to solve problems on your own or look for a solution and find a solution on your own without a lot of hand holding? That's what an entrepreneur has to do on a daily basis. Every day they have to encounter problems and overcome problems and deal with issues and, find solutions and provide solutions. So many people also talk about, I think another big thing many people talk about is home ownership. But what are you doing right now with your current space? Are you taking care of your current living situation? Are you keeping it up? Or are you being diligent about it? Are you paying the rent on time? Or do you have to ask the landlord every month for an extension to pay the rent? If you have to ask the landlord every month for an extension to pay rent, you're not ready to be a homeowner. You're not ready to have a mortgage payment. Also, are you saving up money for a down payment to be able to acquire a home at some point? Have you researched the process of obtaining a mortgage and getting pre-approval for a mortgage? Have you spoken to banks about pre-approval for a loan? These are all the things that you got to be diligent where you're at before you get to the big things you want to do, right? You have to be diligent in your current state. You have to be diligent in your current status of where you are right now before you can get to the greater, bigger things, because your habits are going to remain your habits. So it's like you need to develop good habits now in your current state of where you are, so that when you get the $1 million, or you become a millionaire, or you become an entrepreneur, or you own a home, that you're able to maintain those habits, and you're able to deal with bigger issues that'll arise with these bigger goals. So I just think about that in relation to Colin Powell, born in New York City, 1937. Parents immigrated from Jamaica. Didn't have much. Went to public schools. Went to City College of New York. He was a soldier for 35 years. 35 years. Coming in at an entry level position and rising all the way up to the rank of 4-star general. And that just says a lot about his character, to be able to be somewhere for 35 years and to rise up in the ranks and to get to the highest level of the military, to become first African American Secretary of State, and then also to be chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff and the United States National Security Advisor. It's just amazing when you think about that. And this quote from him is just speaks to work ethic and being willing to do well in the small things and the little things, to stand out in the small things. If you're at work every day and you feel like you're not being challenged, then you need to start thinking about what can you do to add value to your job. What's something extra you can do to add value so that you can stand out amongst the crowd, even if it's a job that you don't want to be there. Because if it's a job you're trying to get away from, or a job that you're just doing for now until you find something better, why not do it to the best of your ability now? Why not develop the habit of doing something you don't want to do but doing it well? That speaks to character. That speaks to discipline. That speaks to having great habits. If you're going to achieve excellence in big things, you have to develop the habit in little matters. Excellence is not an exception, it's a prevailing attitude. So you got to be so focused on doing everything with excellence, regardless. Regardless if you don't have the best manager, regardless of, horrible coworkers, regardless of, whatever you're going through, whatever you're facing. To get to excellence, we have to be diligent with where we're at right now. I wanted to talk a little bit about Sober October, right? Just completed Sober October. It was a great experience for me, man. I mean, I really thought it was going to be a lot more challenging than it was. It usually is a lot more challenging than it was this time around, in terms of not drinking for the 31 days. I think the reason why it was easier for me this year, I think there's a number of things. I think one of the things was I'm older now, so I don't drink as much as I as I used to drink. I think also just not being in environments. I wasn't in environments, every week where there was liquor readily available. I was in a few environments, maybe 3, 4 times out of the month, where there was, liquor available and people partying and so forth. But even in those environments, I didn't really feel a high level of temptation to drink. I was okay. I was good. I was comfortable, just being in those settings sober. And it just speaks a lot to growth, my growth, to me. Just my ability to not be swayed or not be moved by what the crowd is doing. So it's the discipline of it, right? That's what I talked about, in October, at the beginning of October, when I first started talking about Sober October. It's about disciplining yourself and setting a goal and sticking to it. Like if you wanted to run a 5K or a 10K, it's about setting that goal of I'm going to run a 5K in 3 months, and then what do I need to do to get there? Okay, I need to run this many miles every week. I need to get up and run every day or run this many times a week, and sticking to that and not being swayed from that. So, once you accomplish these things, you discipline yourself and you accomplish these things, you feel like you can accomplish anything. You can accomplish anything. You have this confidence about you that you can do anything that you put your mind to, anything that you desire. Nothing is too big. Nothing is too great. And it's a good mindset to have. It's a good thing to believe. Have that belief in yourself that you can do anything, regardless of how bad it looks, regardless of how your situation looks right now. You can become anything. You can do anything, and you can go anywhere you want to go. And there's power in that. So just want to provide that update on Sober October for you guys. Just want to remind you guys, just before we end the episode, just want to remind you guys about the free ebook that's available. 10 inspirational quotes. Have the link to the ebook in the show notes if you haven't already downloaded it. Go ahead and take a peek at that. And then once again, want to read this quote one more time. If you're going to achieve excellence in big things, you develop the habit in little matters. Excellence is not an exception. It's a prevailing attitude. So you got to have that prevailing attitude of excellence. The prevailing attitude to want to be the best, to want to do your best, regardless of the situation or whatever you're facing. Y'all have a good week.